Jaycee, Hart Cunningham here. I see that you're in San Diego. I miss my time there. I started my first business at 433 G Street in downtown. It was very different than it is today, and I've lived in Coronado and Del Mar and La Jolla. I miss all those coves. I remember the first dog ocean experience, the early morning surf and so forth. And I do remember a lot of bright analytic and scientific evidence coming around that area from UCSD and so forth. So I do appreciate your initiative on this bill. So it really aligns with some of the things we've had internal discussions for. So the goal is to end poverty, to allow unionization, higher wages, more structure, to remove such legislative disregard for income inequality. So how do we take the billions from the left that's going towards charities and their end-of-life donations? How do we actually provide transparency that they can do good in the United States of America to end homelessness, to allow higher wages? Because everybody wants these, but nobody really understands if the money is going to be allocated appropriately. So since you're working in analytics in this bill, I suggest that you provide as much transparency down, right? So if I'm a corporate executive and I'm taking some of my profits, I know that I'm posting, 7, 8, 9 figures every quarter, but I do understand that, say, 3.5% is going towards some type of economic fund for the new generation to end poverty, to allow the money, those additional resources you're providing for the lowest economic class and a lot of the middle economic class that doesn't understand what they would do if they didn't have a check in 2-3 months. For a lot of times it's check to check, they get 52% debt, home ownership, the equity isn't where it was before, they have a lot of depreciation on their car from Uber riding and other gig economy type related. So everybody's faltering further in debt, and we live in an economic area where everybody will just keep stacking up their loans because the banks know that the government will bail them out if they have no issues. So there's a lot of speculative cash, and that's going into high-risk loans, and the current administration is only continuing that. So on this software and so forth, if we could provide transparency down to the level with case studies for improvement, we would have a much better chance of being able to get corporate executives to buy into the idea that percentage of profits would go toward wage inequality, because we want people to be excited for tax day. And what I mean by that is the idea that so much is going toward legislative corruption, bureaucracy, and keep extending climate change with all the different subsidies for oil and gas companies, destruction of our lands in Monsanto, et cetera. But if they knew the dollars actually going toward logical things to save humanity and allow educational initiatives and the lowest economic class to have a chance, I think that we get a larger buy-in. It would just be something that was part of America, right? So the actual tax bracket was lower at 15%, but you knew a percentage of those additional funds that just came out of your quarterly returns was going toward these specific programs. And maybe, let's say there's 15 different ways in which we can stimulate the economy, offering higher wages to the lowest and middle economic class. What if there was different ones that people could actually say their money would be allocated toward, right? So if I was in Florida and I was a business owner and we were making $200 million in profit manufacturing X, Y, and Z, and I knew that the 4% that was going to go toward this economic program for this American initiative bill that you're talking about with analytics, if I knew that I could click, it would go X toward this program and this program, even region, then people actually have a say in having those dollars removed, and actually think that would stimulate the economy because people knew that it was an investment. So I think if we look at it as a tax and a generic, I think it will falter, because we really want large buy-in on this. I mean, if there's no one in the House or Senate that disagrees, we really want to understand their logic, because it allows GDP to thrive. It allows people to be motivated. It becomes a standard. It won't even affect the stock market. If anything, it would provide an answer to this current problem of income inequality that's so egregious that you have to look back thousands of years to see any type of comparison. And we've seen other types of states and modern empires that have had issues when you've had this income inequality at this measure, where there's not initiatives going toward education, healthcare, and so forth. So transparency on the issues, allocation of funds appropriately, being able to use for stimuli opportunities, and make sure that obviously it's not going toward anything that's destruction of our planet, that's not going toward any type of activities that isn't in the best interest of the American public. So couple different ideas. Love to review it. And, you know, we're in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and we wish we were on the beaches of San Diego. A couple of the interns were giggling about that. It's very ironic, but we're in the intellectual capital of the world over here, and I can guarantee you that once that bill gets in some type of presentable fashion, we can get a couple of people from MIT, Harvard over here, and maybe give it a little talk. We can put together 200-300 people. We can bring in a couple experts. We kind of go through the bill, and let's make it short. Let's make it attractive in terms of the terminology, the nomenclature. Let's make it easy to read, and let's make it a standard and get Congress to really buy in on it. And also, it'd be great to get feedback before midterms to see how other people thought about this. So that could actually create a little bit more initiative. But I will tell you that the majority of our funds and our donations go toward ideas such as this so that we have legislative action. So then in 2020, we can say, okay, these are the things we discussed the last 3 years. Let's put them in place instead of, oh, let's brainstorm once in office, because we want to campaign on these issues knowing that the American public voted for these initiatives, and then it's easy to get passed through Congress as the blue wave is upon us, and the blue wave will take over Congress, meaning that any type of presidential power that actually improves humanity, that we actually lobbied on, that we rallied the people behind, will be simple to put in place. And we'll have a very diligent team, and we'll find the best people that are really motivated on these issues with transparency for all. So 100% behind you. Can't wait to read it. Appreciate the interest. Hart Cunningham.